Nobody's coming yet, so I'm just gonna wait. Oh, we got somebody popping in. Hello. Sorry, I went and hit the connect button before I was finishing setting up. I had put it on a stand and everything to set it kind of nice, and I messed up. I hit the damn button. It's not a big deal, but I did it. There we go. Do not fall. Alrighty. So, hello to whoever's out there. What do I got? 1, 2, 3. Looks like about 30,000 people watching now. Okay. Would that be unreal or what? I wonder if there's ever been lives like that. Oh yeah, I guess lots of people do that, don't they? I know UFC stuff, just people watching it. People will tune into just like Joe Rogan, 30,000 people will watch him watching the UFC sort of thing. But anyways, so whoever's out there, if you can throw me a question or something, start with that. If not, we can talk about the reason why I named it this. Named the video. How did I name that again? I said Terrified to Death. I don't know if anybody ever talks about, there's people out there who talk about this terrifying moment when they've bumped into these beings and how they've reacted because maybe the being is being caught off guard by the human, or maybe the being is just reacting because he doesn't like who he's bumping into or who's being bumped into at that moment. But there's people who have sat in front of other people and told these stories and described these beings and stuff and how they were just terrified. There's stories of guys standing there pissing their pants, peeing their pants, and they were hunters and stuff, and they've would continue in their story that they've been confronted by grizzly bear and stuff and never responded in any manner like that. Can't even think about adjusting their gun, let alone even thinking that they would have an opportunity or anything, but the being turning and walking away from them and stuff. So those are real terrifying moments. And there's a lot of them that actually go on. And then there's lots of stories that we know that are out there that people obviously died during some terrifying moments. Like that story of about 7 people that were in the back of Russia there back in the 60s or 70s. And they were doing a research into that area. And why they were on that expedition, one guy came back because he wasn't feeling well. And the rest of them all continued on. They got to their destination, and weeks later, there were search parties out there finding the remains. And the way that the remains are done, I could put a conclusion together that is different than I believe the way that I've heard it from the police that were in the vicinity who did all the researching of them, the deaths, murders, the whatever kind of went on there. They have their figurings in some ways. And so many times when we do those figurings, we have to bring in our human real knowledge. So if you think about it, if a guy in that group of researchers, in the inspectors, was a bear hunter, he'd be able to bring in really well some practicality about bear to weigh it in or weigh it out of the catastrophe, the problem that went on there. So that's where I take it. I'm taking it to that, people have to either trust and believe by watching my history. I got 3 years of history here now with YouTube on the same subject. And my findings started 3 years ago. and a week or two ago. 3 years and a week or two. And they started, and you just get to see different findings, and you get to see me evolving in it. Like my video that's called First Face to Face Encounter. It's got 145,000 views. It doesn't even get 1,000 views a month. It is what's kept me here for 3 years. It started, the real kind of what's going on. And then as time went on, then I started to get some real scary things that were going on, and that helped carry me. And at the same time, why this has all been going on, I actually have been going through an injury phase that I'm coming up to my 7th year of this injury. So there always has been a phase, and even today I went out for my youngest daughter took me out for a brunch, and even when we were leaving and stuff, we were walking to the car or whatever, I was holding her hand and stuff. And I just said to her, I said, I've really felt in recent time here, really coming back for you kids. Like I'm kind of more aware of them, I think is what I actually said to her. And then I explained just a quick couple of things of, I went through a test that was for my injury that put me further behind the 8 ball, and that was 2015, the day after my birthday, so May the 20th, 2015. And that it actually probably made everything worse for my hearing ailments and such. So I pointed out to her, because, she was younger then. She's only just becoming that adult and stuff, right? So it helps refresh their memory a bit and help her calculate up, okay, yeah, this is how Dad was. And yeah, I can see some stuff. Yeah, I get, because at the same time, I've been talking this stuff about Bigfoot all along and stuff. And I want to make sure she sticks with me the whole time and doesn't give up on this story that she's been hearing, and she's been compiling her type of data with it to try to figure out where her dad's coming from. And we got to be able to have that talk again here and stuff. And I got to point out to her where her 2 brothers are sitting right now, kind of with it, because I connect with them as young men now instead of young teenagers or teenagers. And it's really awesome. That part of it is very awesome, those 3 relationships. And then my other daughter, I just don't, it's FaceTime talk right now because she's on a bit of an adventure. Anyways, so that's kind of that stuff. Now I'm going back to the name of the video, which is Terrified to Death. And even think about those people that would have been that were hiding in those tents and so on and so forth. When whatever was going on, they were terrified. They were absolutely so terrified that some people did not even put on clothes. They were in sleeping kind of situation, it seems, probably. In the darkened night is when the terror will come. I've had a confronting of them in a vocalization manner. I did not allow the sound to terrify me, even though I was very scared. I felt you don't hear it very much maybe in my voice because, for a long time, I've been a guy that's been challenged by different people throughout since I was a kid. Said it before, I was a redhead. And a very energetic redhead. I had older brothers. We were allowed to fight around and wrestle and hardcore do it. My dad liked that we're energetic that way. We're not allowed to punch and kick. But we were, so I was the youngest of these boys, and then being that energetic kid who would go to school all of a sudden and say, well, think to myself, well, this is how I spend my energy of survival at home. I spend it with other kids that way too. So, if they came at me, then I'd do the same thing that I learned from with my brothers is protect. My dad would tell me, don't come and tell me that you're hurt. Why, how does that help you at all? My dad actually would say that kind of stuff. So in other words, he taught you there's a certain amount of self-protection you have to deal out when you're being picked on or being walked on or you're being ridiculed. All these people who charge other people for calling them a name and stuff like that. That stuff should just be bouncing right off of them. It's in no ways are they at all in a survival thing, being able to survive at all. So imagine that person in the jungle out here. So in my interaction one, where it was snapping and breaking, and I'm not twigs, a full out, you can tell there's girth there. Maybe even some thrashing. Like so. Anyways, while that stuff was going on, I stood there for 1:40 or something. The first original couple of growls that I say happened right within the first 2.5 to 3 seconds. There's a minimally 2 growls in there, but I actually think sometimes when I listen to it on a different set of speakers or something, I sometimes think there could be 4 growls. Deep-throated kind of stuff going on. And that kind of just caught my attention. It didn't tell me what it was or anything. I just heard it. I went and did my investigation, which was I stopped. I'm on the dike. About 10 seconds into it, I go about 20 feet closer to them on the dike, and you can hear me moving. And then I continue to say, what's going on? Stuff like that. Just like I did with the coyote the other night. The coyote sounds that are either coming from a real pet coyote by these beings, or a very good impersonator, and that's what they do is they mimic all kinds of noises: trucks, dogs, ducks, birds, trains, planes, automobiles, and much, much more. And this is part of what I've been teasing a little bit with but I've been also really trying to figure out, how do I get into the subject of fully what I know they're like now? I know I'll learn more, but I also know I'm full up to here and you're only full up to here. People have presentations of things here, and they might even be willing to go, I knew it, when they hear that cup that full. And that's all good. I'm not trying to say I'm a mastermind. There's people who try challenging me with that and stuff like that, and I got no history of showing and pulling off that I was a mastermind. But there's history of me trying to be first in line, being competitive with my buddies, hurting myself in those cases because I was stupid. Stuff like that. I'm just that guy. Did I get a special gift to help open? I don't know. How hard do you try to be that really good guy? When you try really hard to be that really good guy, that's when you see some gifts. Just because I'm divorced does not mean I'm a really good guy still and get a gift somehow out of that. That's an outlook partly. I've heard it lots of times from people saying, Ian, but that's not real. And I'm sorry, you're thinking negative real. I'm thinking positive real. Which one isn't real? So when I'm dealing with these guys, don't go, oh my God, we're all in for it. We're going to die. The life is over. World's over. Instead, what I did was go, what's going on here? How deep do these go? Now I get to tell really strongly what I believe is a scientific understanding that the science in our world, our scientists in our world, do not get to understand. The ones that are with this level of biology of earth matter, dirt, trees, our scientists of the world, I understand, in a high number of them are very confused about that. Some of them might have their understandings where you come from the ocean and blah, 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 and it does all this. But they're quite confused about it. Where I stand, the answer is so clear. So clear. Part of that answer is, how are the trees everywhere? And when you start to really look at our trees here, and then you start to look at the ones over in Africa and different places like that where they're really treed up and doing fine around the world, so many places the trees are just doing awesome. There's nothing about the ecosystem messing up unless our trees are so oblivious to it that you will not show a sign of it. Oddly, odd trees show stuff. People will phone them in, oh, I got a disease and all this kind of stuff. I say, leave it alone, let the Bigfoot figure it out. It might be even they have it tweaked and they're tripping your mind for some reason because they know you're going to go get those stupid real big water bags and put them at the base of your tree. Stupidity, wasting of our money. Our city here has put out hundreds and hundreds of those stupid water bags, and it's all been around the time that I've started realizing, yeah, these Bigfoot are that connected. They're the woodsmen of the forest. I said that within the first week, probably 2 weeks of me starting on this 3-year journey. Okay, so we're rattled on there again on good information. And it's all collective information, and that's how I work. I'm sorry that you might go, oh yeah, from 2 years ago you were saying this about that, and now I'm putting the dots together. I'm sorry that it's working that way, but like I said, there's a whole story for 7 years going on with the guy trying to help fix himself. My channel actually started as My Tinnitus Journal. Tinnitus as a hearing ailment. My Tinnitus Journal as a self-prescribed way of giving myself a therapy to try to become normal like you guys all are, I guess. Huh? Dog give us a bark over there. So the name of the video is called Terrified to Death. There's a number of guys that have been found at the bottom of cliffs, even where their family, friends, hiking partners, and all that kind of said, no, they don't go on cliffs. They're scared. And I know guys like that. I know guys that are that scared, won't go on them 2 feet. And it's just their style, and it's just okay, but you know them, and they won't break that. Now, why do guys get found at the bottom of them? Did they actually just get chased to the bottom of them from down below, and that's where they are dead? Or did they get terrified to death that they kept on getting pushed and did a slip because they were so clumsy of a climber? Could somebody figure out pretty quick that you're a clumsy, scared climber by just watching how you act on the trail? Yeah, indeed. A cougar probably does that. It probably already has a symptomatic understandings. Okay, the human's probably going to run that way. He's just that dumb. So terrified to death. You know, there's a couple of detective type guys that did investigation on white guys, business kind of like young college student-ish age, well-dressed, gone to a location to drink that is that clientele, just kicking back, having a few drinks, getting a little too drunk, something like that. And in their count, the number was something like 40 guys that ended up being in their whole count that ended up all being drowned. And it's not really even understood how they're drowned fully. So when I hear this, I bring in just facts of life. And part of my facts of life for the last 3 years is some pretty outrageous facts. And so I hear that, and then I also hear that 22 of them or something like that within a near vicinity, Could have been a mile, I don't know, but in near proximity of where the body was found. The guy was found. There's been, and all of them do not match each other, 22, something like that. And I'm not sure if they're all spray painted or if there's different form of a liquid to be able to make the mark. But they were all a happy face. I wouldn't doubt it if none of them had noses, but I don't know with that. I wonder if they did have noses on those happy faces. But there was these happy faces, you know, some would be painted on the sidewalk, some would be painted on a sign. Just one, I think. And stuff. And some people who are researchers out there on these beings and stuff might kind of be going, yeah. Some of them might be going with a specific color. Like in my area, the most specific color that I have ever found out there where I think, hey, I wonder if somebody stole a can of paint or there's a can of paint on job sites. Because job sites are awesome. You can go to a job site, you could pick up a piece of machinery and reshift it. And the guy would come back in the morning and go, I figured, John, I swear it was parked like this. Oh, well. And they get in their machine and they start working, whatever. Guaranteed that stuff will have happened because these creatures will sit back and, in my feeling, in my awareness, in my practice of researching them, they research me. And a lot of people kind of pick up on that in some of my videos that I'm watched. And some people pick up on it in pretty large numbers. So, you know, so where was I then with that? So given an actual example at that moment of, because my mind jumps around into a lot of different examples and stuff. It really does. Anyways, so back to the name of the video, which is Terrorized to Death. So, guys at the bottom of the cliff. Lady out in Coquitlam there who got lost for 2 nights, 3 days. The only luck that they had finding her was a guide the day before her second night out there. Stopped for a smoke way up in the mountains somewhere coming home from a camp and seen a lady walking 3 dogs. Didn't think anything of it because he doesn't know if the camper's around another bend or anything. I don't know if he was seeing it across the valley or what. Hello, everybody. And what am I saying there? Oh, so he sees this lady, and the next day he's lucky he's a news guy because he was watching the news, calls it in that he's seen the lady walking the 3 dogs, and within an hour they probably had her picked up, something like that. They were a couple of valleys over. They weren't even close. So in this in particular case, they are going towards terror of, I had the word, of misguidance. They're being brought towards terror of being out there for 2 nights. That lady, if she would have hit the 3rd night, think of her anxiety. Think of the anxiety of the 3 dogs that she would be with. Missing, because there weren't her pets. One of them might have been her pet, but she's a dog walker. So if that got to keep fulfilling, they, being 3 dogs and a gentle woman, might be able to just be misguided instead of having to be brought to the moment of terror. Maybe in 3 days, 4 days longer, where they decide, come on guys, let's get rid of one of our dogs. Let's take one of our dogs, you know. We can eat them, we can do whatever, keep them as a pet or whatever type thing. But you know that irritating one, let's take care of him. So they'd break up the group a little bit. They come in and she'll be at times walking along. Oh, I can hear beautiful sound over this way. Maybe this is the right way. Come on, boys, do you want to go this way? And there'll be times that the dogs are going, they'll be trying to pull over that way. Well, thank you. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Hild. Just got a super chat. Choo! That's the box where below there if anybody feels like doing a super chat. I think if you're watching this later, you can even open up right here the little mailbox thing or something, and it'll tell you our conversation as the conversation's going. As Hild did that at this time, it will pop up and you will see her generosity. And I believe you might be able to still hit the $sign down there and send a super chat if you want to or not. And that's all good. I appreciate that very much. Anything like that. Thank you. Get back on track there. So this lady's dilemma to this point, I could go and sit with her. And I could ask her, well, did you notice any noise like this? No, I didn't. Did you notice anything like this? No, I didn't. Did you notice this? No. So my dad agreed. No, I just, there's lots of birds around and stuff. I was having a great time. I thought the dogs were leading me most of the time and would bring me back to safety. And in a way they did, because they found me. And she could be a woman like this. Or she could have been out there frantic all the time, and I could pick up lots of information off of her. Because of where I've been being tracked. And that's part of why I'm telling you this. Is because I know, I'll put it this way, I do not know if they are aware of how much I do know. And Hild will very much appreciate that, because I think she is one of the people with a whole list on here that recognize there's a relationship. And I think a lot of those people think it's two-sided. But the side you might see is kindness. Remember that. It might just be to that point. It might not be, let's go hang out with Ian tonight, Tin Man. Yeah, we'll sit out all around here. I'll get up in the morning, and I kid you not, guys, there's markings all around my car all the time. Lots of people are going, oh yeah, we believe that and stuff like that. If you're that kind of a person, try to get your mind into the markings that you see around your tent and stuff like that when you're hitting the sack. Try to focus in. Let them know that if you want to or not. If you don't want to let them know, I more say that one because it's easier for them to get carried away then. The mom, okay, you can go that close to the tent. I don't care. Don't wake the mom. Don't make any noises. Who knows if they have to make noises in this environment? That's partly where my mind is. I don't know if they have to make noises in our environment or not, or if it's a thing they choose to do. You know, some of these nighttime videos there that I've been giving you, I'm taking you to a stage. Some of you might already say, yeah, I'm already in that stage a little bit. I have been for years or whatever type thing. I've seen twinkling of eyes. I've seen eye winks and stuff like that. I'm still working towards a stage. And a couple of those night videos, especially the 9-minute one, 9 minute, maybe 10 seconds, something like that. I tell you, it's pretty mind-blowing. Just watch right on your left. And part of the reason is there's a couple of different videos, but if you think about it, hey, that's the same end of the street. So this is Ian's camp that he's at all the time. That's the road down there that has a little bit of traffic. My road has hardly any traffic except for the family that lives there or the odd person that just pulls up the road to have a smoke or, you know, because they wanted to go down a dead end. Anyways, so if you bring up 4 of those examples, you'll start to be able to understand there's the traffic light for real. You know, why do I think I'm seeing it way down here? You know, try to bring things in. I said to my daughter when we were on this breakfast this morning, this brunch, I said to her, have I always been the type of dad that would, you know, and she said, yeah, the type that would be not willing to fulfill all the information. And my dad was always like that. My dad was like that in a harsh way. Comes from a challenging life where he's challenged to think all the time. He was a farmer that had parents that were probably a fair amount older than him, so they taught him and with a way of think for yourself. I'm not going to always give you answers. So he in turn put that on us. So and sometimes, you know, a couple of hours had gone by him, and he'll come up. He would be, whatever, and you'd see or something like that, and he will say, he'll just say some words. And then you go, when you're young in your mind, sometimes you'd be going, what, Dad? And you'd have to learn all that to that point. But you get to a point where you start going, okay, a couple hours ago we were talking about. Oh, okay, so he's talking about that. Oh, going home and picking up dinner. Yeah, okay, Dad, yeah, want me to go get dinner? Yeah, And that's kind of this field. If you walk away from this field and you're just thinking about work the next day and your wife and your children and all that kind of stuff, then you got way busier of a life than me. And that's part of what I was saying earlier on this video also is I've got to put some of that to the side now. Through an injury, I got really wound on the subject, and I am still really wound on the subject, but I'm back, picking up some of the fragrances that I had missed out on for a couple of years here. And yeah, that's just life. And so now we're jumping back to the subject there. I'm going to read a couple of these. All good, Ian. You are much a sweet man. Thank you. That is Tweak. Tweak. Tweak, I like that name. I believe, this is Hild saying this, I believe they know our thoughts, feelings, how our eyes see them, if we see them at all, or starting to see the left arm, they know more or less between them, I guess. Okay, basically what I think that you're saying is they're kind of all connected. I don't know what I get with that yet. But I also see that you're saying that you believe that they figure out our thoughts. They understand our thoughts or whatever type thing. I don't see that at all, Hild. Like I'm here with them so many times and trying to really be that with them. And I know my mimics, my fake things. Say I was married and my wife comes home and I'm really mad at my wife and stuff like that. The type of guy I am, I'm not going to go, hey, bitch, how's it going? I'm the type of guy that I'm going to treat her with a whole bunch of respect. I'm going to mimic, pretend, act like I'm this kind of a person right now and willing to swallow all that to help guide you back to your happier place. I'll sacrifice that a certain amount or whatever type thing. But I'll also bring it into conversation. Maybe not on the mimicking part, or maybe I will even say that up to a person like that. It's all about the truth, so I would imagine that I could, with certain relationships, do that. Not all, because we know a lot of relationships are uneducated people, and you're trying to educate them. It's all life. We're all being educated. Doesn't matter if you're handicapped, retarded, super intelligent, or whatever. Still being educated, still learning. Those super educated guys, if they're not learning anymore, that's probably the odd time they commit suicide and stuff. So anyways, getting off track there. Augustine, St. Augustine, Florida, nice. How's it going? Nona? Oh yeah, Nona, I haven't seen you for a little while. I think I haven't read a comment from you for a little while anyways. I'll say that. So I talked about it a bit then here about, I'm leaning to be in the picture. I talked a bit about the name of the name of this video, which is where were we again? Terrorized to death. The guy's in the lake. So anybody who's wants to know the information, you might want to rewind a bit and stuff and hear the earlier parts. But the guys in the lake are the guys that drowned with the smiley face and such. I know out there in my work that a number of these carvings on trees that I show you and stuff, where they're almost looking like a heart and they're sort of something like this and that, where they're almost looking like some letters and stuff, I know a good percentage of those marks can be theirs. I'm not going to go with 50-50 or anything like that, but a good percentage of those marks are their marks. And when you see a certain amount of that information, and I've seen smiley faces out there too, when you see a certain amount of, and their claw marks, their mimic of claw marks, people are starting to realize that now, that a lot of the claw marks they see, like, I don't make much time to go on other people's videos. I really don't. Because I don't have to research other Bigfooters much, because I'm doing it, that part, like them. So I like to research just maybe a rock historian, someone who's talking about rock on whatever, different things, and so on and so forth. Different life history, tribal histories and stuff like that. And then I can, that's how I've been able to lots of times try to relate these guys that we're looking for right now and understanding right now with those old times. But the other day, a couple of weeks back there, I did pop onto, because it was a video that popped up that sounded worth the look, and I can't remember what it was, but it was for you know Mark with Bigfoot Colorado, or Colorado Bigfoot, Mark, and he had some Sasquatch markings in there, Bigfoot markings. He had some markings that looked like fingertips markings, just like there would be fingertips, and maybe also the thumb tip. And on another tree that was right in that zone, he had a cougar. What he felt was a cougar claw marks, and he felt it was a back claws of a cougar. Like he went up on the tree, the cougar like this, and then did a swipe down, and his back legs went like that, and he left these marks. See, I'm a lot different than Mark. Like, I'd bring in right away to that. If my mind was going there, I'd bring in right away cougar in the exact same spot as some Bigfoot. What are the odds for that? I'd go over and I'd look at those Bigfoot marks, and I'd realize those aren't just a claw mark or something. Those are pieces cut out, and I think they left some center part of it even in there, maybe. So it's really kind of in depth there. And if you really think about it, it's a mimic of probably a bear, just the claw. Somehow a bear claw is supposed to look like that. Well, yeah, that looks like a bear claw, but they go. All 5 of them need work. It's not just. And once Mark is able to commit to more levels like that, then his story will start to unfold. Really caught up with a lot of stuff in there, but he carries a gun. Guys who carry guns, I can't help you. I don't know what they think of you. But, so anyways, the other cougar, supposedly Mark, marking, and being able to think to yourself that a cougar jumped up here and swooped around with his hind legs about 5 feet in the air and did that. That's a big thought. Try just look at those marks and see if you think they're just like that, maybe. Look at them and see if they're double-sided cutted or just one cut. See if within that cut it's beveled either way. Understand that we're looking for somebody. We're not running around hoping. And that's what I'm trying to get my crew to open up to. A lot of them have opened up to, and so on and so forth. My words aren't guessing words. I don't say guessing words. What was it? Math. J Math David on here did a lot, kind of said, I don't know when you're joking, LOL. And I don't think I'm joking very often. Like, I think there's times where I joke, and I hopefully let you know I'm joking, because that's the way I like to do jokes, is I don't like to leave them open-ended, so you end up thinking I'm a bad guy or a liar or something, when I was actually just trying to be funny. And yeah, I told you that the Bigfoot's on the moon, and I think they're jumping down here, and people are starting to say it all over the place because Tin Man said it, but I wanted to end with that saying, that's just a joke. They're not on the moon. The moon is interesting these days. Well, they'd love it on the moon with all that rock. So I think we've covered quite a bit, didn't we? Did I? Oh yeah, the guys in the drown. So imagine this. I imagined it 3 years ago when I seen the seals come up this far on the river here, the Fraser River, up to as far as Mission. They might even go up to Chilliwack and stuff. Maybe even to Hope, I don't know. But they come this high, and when I looked out there, and because I was learning these guys, this is 2 years ago or so, and I seen the seals out there, and I seen them resting on the log jams and stuff for all the Hills, you're not giving me another donation, are you? What you're giving me another one? Thank you. Good, Hild. Thank you so much, Hild. Thank you very much. So we got the log jam, not log jams, but the log where the logs are going to the mill, so they're all bound up together, and the seals will jump up on there. As soon as I seen that kind of stuff, I thought to myself, these beings, like I was already coming into a swimming capability, a breath capability, or whatever that capability is. As soon as I seen that seal out there, I knew one from shore here could just, these Bigfoots, one of these beings could just go bloop under that thing, swim directly to the other side of it, come up out of the water without the seal even noticing. Other seals aren't sitting there waiting to go arr, 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 and let him know nothing. You can break water without making any noise in that water, especially that water. It's not like it's in any way glass. So you just come right up, already knowing the position of it, already probably having a figure, this is where I'm sticking him. And it's done. Pulls it into the water. No humans even seen us in the middle of the day, because that's part of the system. That really is part of the system. So when you feel you're content, or you're pretty content that you're looking in and there might be a couple in there, well, be more content knowing that there could be a handful in there, and then a handful over there, a handful up in there. Especially when the nighttime starts to come around. If you could really get into what they do in our cities and on our streets and stuff, if you can really start to, I'm going to study asphalt, like Tin Man says, get down on my hands and knees with the certain pieces of types of seeing things, like if you use this and you find some rocks that just happen to look good on the road, just happen to give some nice twinkles and stuff. All kinds here that I see at different times that I pick up, and these aren't just, like, I've been around gravel my whole life, picking up this exact same gravel, tossing it while we're all, picking up, looking at different things and stuff. It's never looked so picked at in its life, because it just gets fracked. It doesn't get picked, and all this stuff is picked visibilities, and this helps you realize it's picked visibilities. And if you want to really get into it, then you go with this guy right here. and get into some real wherever we are there. Actually, I just go, yeah, what do? I do that, I guess, don't I? Let's go way off to the side. Can you see through there? Anyways, and those help you be able to get into things. Look at what I have saved here on my calendar. I'll show you right here what I got saved on my calendar for my own efforts. Even this gives a sign of an ability of a tough creature opening it, a weak creature opening it, a precise creature opening it, someone that may be tool packed, like a good claw ability. So you take this whole puppy, and she seals. If I seal that back first and then show you. And I don't even know if what this one's going to show, because it does have a break line in it where it the nut fracked. So there's a chance that that part of the nut fracking, when you look under it like this, may show, or somewhere else might show, just where that thing went sleep. And yet, whoops, I don't like to scrape it or anything. Sleep in like that. And even if this doesn't end up showing me this, I'm telling you right now, those are part of the things that you can study to help complete your mindset, because a squirrel goes and what other bugs, rodents and stuff are getting into these, know that they take a corn on the cob, and you know how you got that corn, and that corn itself, each corn niblet sits in a husk. And when you pick up a corn that is cleaned from here to here, and the ear's even probably gone, been pulled right off, and there's probably not even any of that hair hanging around or anything like that, and you can see all the husks are left behind. None of them are even cut into or eaten from or anything like that, and it's all just the corn that's gone or whatever. That tells you something about a raccoon eating. That tells you something about whatever else kind of animals want to eat corn, or what real picky animals, ones that are being mothered and maybe maybe she's able to take her claw and she just hits it there and goes, she slides it down in such a way that it doesn't open the corns, the little nibs, leaves them kind of this little sealed thing, gets them out of that husk and stuff like that. And she's got a handful there. Hey, little Johnny. And Johnny eats them. Mothers are mothers. I've seen so many mother signs of, geez, I bet your mom's sitting here and, a number of handfuls of something around in amongst. And those guys, 40 guys, just drowned. No other complications. Not weird drownings, really, just drownings and stuff. Some of them, can't remember when it comes to any water in the lungs or anything like that. But imagine somebody who can go and get that seal like that, can also just swim up underneath this and go on your pant legs like this and leave absolutely no sign of anything. And you're just holding the guy here until he's finally... And then they do whatever. They hook him up on something down there. They take him down wherever they leave him. They had their fun. They had their experiment. They're doing their terror of death. Do they do this terror of death on purpose? Thanks for the thumbs up, guys. Do they do the terror of death on purpose? That's part of what we're figuring out. My beautiful daughter walking to work. I'm using their Wi-Fi. You guys want to see her? Do you get to see her there? Did I turn it too much? I'm sure you can hear. Dark hair like her mother. Obviously not dark hair like the father. Their mother is, she's Punjabi. She's from India. Her parents are from India. She was born in Canada, but her parents are from India, kind of the Punjabi people. They're kind of the Sikh people, the ones with turbans, non-related to the Muslims. No relation at all with the Muslims. Sikh people don't like to be related with the Muslims, and the Muslims don't like to be related with the Sikh people. Other than they live in similar country, same country, and stuff like that. Anyways, so back to those boys then. Do with me fit that. The 400 cats in England or wherever that have been mutilated, where old ladies come out of their apartment to call in their cat, and their cat is laying there cut open on their doorstep with maybe this part of one of their front paws arms missing. So they just cut it open, quick cut, take these two bones, I think, there, and they take them. Sometimes those bones get returned back to the owner or to a different location, a different cat death. Those bones get returned, but dry and clean. There's one in particular story, where the guy went to England to tell the story. It was back when the cats were around 350. He went to one where it just had happened the day before. The old lady or whatever, the man takes them out to the corner of the yard. They show where the cat. They figure it happened. Or they found the cat. Yeah, they show where they found the cat. In the corner of the yard there. I think there was even some first to left there or something. And he had that front leg missing, I'm pretty sure. And because that cameraman came there and videotaped this and stuff and talked to them at their front door and stuff, that attention, he left. The next day, he's about to leave for his plane, gets a call from them. They left something. Canada, guaranteed probably in all the countries that you probably check and just check and see if one of these arms are missing. And that connects. The second thing is surgically done. What have I said from 3 years ago? However you want them to cut up and do up some wood carvings. That was back when I first nicknamed them Woodsmen of the Forest. So you think about those little ladies are going. Think about the terror. You know, I think these connections go biblical. I really do. All stood all. But there are some stories that I kind of connect. And, I've been connecting them with a lot of different stories. The indigenous people of Australia that came into that country 65,000 years ago started telling stories of these mountain shapers and valley diggers. And that sounds a lot like Woodsmen of the Forest. And that was within my first couple of weeks of information. And then on 13 days, my first interaction. 16 day, my second interaction. 19 day, my third interaction. 22nd day, Scott turned around. On the 21st day, let's say, I was filming this dense forest back there, feeling the shiver in my body, because I felt pretty comfortable of the openness, where I just did 21 days of research in about 15 to 20 acres, and I broke it up into 3 different parcels. Now I'm showing the camera to this thick, dead stuff and ugly and blah, blah, blah. And I go, guys, I'm going to have to try to figure out how to see if I can track them in that stuff. Like, I'm that curious. And I wanted to try to knock down that curious. Well, I really struggled with it with a couple of different times, especially through that first couple of months. Anyway, 22nd or 23rd, I got turned around didn't know if I was even going to make it there. Found another location with some trails there that's still real woodsy and everything in the outback here. And pulled over, started walking, and hung out there for 2 hours approximately. Realized I did know how to track then. Knew I was on unconnected land. Was really curious about that. When I got home, the first thing I did was I went on to Google Earth to figure out where the frig was I compared to the other one. And a huge body of our dam system water divides the two areas. So that right there went, Holy cow, that means they're not even that easily connected. They're not next door neighbors. So that means dad doesn't just take the family and run home there. That means there really is probably a lot here. That means there really is probably a lot there on feelings I was getting and stuff and understandings, because we all get understandings. You walk into your job the very first day, you feel a little edge. By the end of the day, you're feeling a little bit more comfortable. The next day, you come in there with your top down a little bit. Just kidding. Sorry. But you get my point. We get more comfortable. That's part of what we are as humans. And that day also walking out of there was the second time, but the only first time that when I was on this rescue, on this research, I should say, that I came across a wing. Looked to me like a crow or a raven wing. I lift up the wing. What's underneath there is this clean skull of an eagle, a young eagle. Still have, it's kind of buried, but one day I promise, maybe really soon, I'll put my butt in gear and do this. And I'll open up my little box. Anyway, so an eagle skull like this, young blue heron skull, only like this, and it was also a young one too. And then the shedding of a snake, which was probably about this much. So it's not as real skin, not dead, just the shed. It was a harsh, coarse shed of. I didn't really recognize the species like our typical ones we have around here, because we only kind of got those ones that have to handle a certain amount of coldness throughout the year. Anyways, I ended up keeping the eagle head skull. It's in there. I took it as a gift. It was the first time that I was coming across this, understanding that this has got to be connected to these beings. Who's doing this? It's like a, something. But I gave my heart as, please, is this okay, and stuff like that. I didn't get any of a hoof or a grunt or a rock or a break or anything that might have indicated don't take it. So I kept it. Been back there. But anyways, big point is, months before that, before I was into the Bigfoot thing, but I was still, that guy out there, I was in a pretty tight spot down by lake. And within this great big old tree, fallen tree stump, like the tree was real big, but you could see because he's down at the water level, so it's eaten away there, somewhat watered away and stuff. I could see some bones and stuff, so I started picking at it. I ended up getting out of there an eagle skull and a blue heron's, but both the adult ones. So the eagle skull was about this big. He's still in there. And like the blue heron, here's actually one of his bones, because I ended up painting, that was then. So it was like just cool. Far out, man, I got an eagle's skull and a blue heron skull. I'm the coolest. Meanwhile, I didn't know it was any kind of a ritualistic burial or anything like that. Like even on this, you can see where the bone or the feathers come off of the, probably maybe a full bird. So this is part of his whatever wing. And I kept this in another one, and then I made X like that. And then I took the eagle skull and I had it all kind of glued together. There's some glue, and I had it on my other old truck or whatever, right as my kind of dash thing right here. And it was pretty cool. But anyways, then I had my dog Jack, and one day he decided to start chewing on it. But this one he didn't get too very bad, but he chewed him up a little bit. So in that in particular, hey, how's it going? Quantum? Is that Quantum? Yeah. Right on. I realized I can connect those two stories, obviously, right? Since I realized I connected a story when I was about 16 years ago, so, whatever, 40 years ago, almost 30 years, whatever. I'm walking around Cultus Lake. My car was broke down. My parents were out of town, whatever type thing. So, I was young enough. I'd just walk. Wouldn't think too much about hitchhiking or stuff like that too much. And all of a sudden, a boat, and I used to always tell this story. I told it a good number of times at parties, whatever kind of thing, but it build up the story. Anyways, this is just like right around me. About 5, 6 sharp barks. Had my jacket off in a second, unless it was already just using. I was just blocks away from my turn, down to Lindau Beach. Anyways, and that in particular story, I believe that's what that was now, because I could never, that's part of the reason why I told it, I never put it together as a dog. I could never understand why a dog was out there, what was really going on, you know, so on and so forth. So now I just believe it was that. Am I right? Doesn't matter to me. I just believe that. No, I think it was probably those guys, just and stuff like these guys do. They do landslides and stuff, and that's what I would do, is get up Coldest Lake, but I would be doing it on the lakeside. The rock would go down to the water. No people down there. I knew I was always by myself or with my brother or whatever, and blah blah blah. I think I ran off from those guys. Mysterious deaths like that. The cats. That's right. The mysteriousness. You know, somewhere in Washington here, in one of the counties, they have an actual, what do you call them when you have your kind of group? It is part of it. Guaranteed. I don't have to see them doing